Yo, what's going on, guys? Crispy Flakes and welcome to Extra Crispy. For today's video, we have a video by Sports Logically titled Build the Best Possible NBA Team of Only International Players. So real quick, I decided to throw together my own quick list, just, you know, like off the top of my head. And mine was Kyrie Irving, who is considered, I think he's from Australia, actually. Luka Doncic, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Jokic at power forward, Embiid at center. I was thinking Ben Simmons, but I felt like him and, you know, Giannis did not really complement each other very nicely. So, and I'm sure there's plenty of other great international players I'm completely forgetting about. So we are going to watch this video by Sports Logically and see the best possible team of only international players and see if it's close to what I picked out.
To do, but I haven't in a while, and this is going to be me creating the best possible international team that I can out of NBA players. Okay. I've done 3 of these in the past, and those were the best possible team under the luxury tax, the worst possible team over the luxury tax, and then a team of all undrafted players. A couple of things before we get started. This is an international team. This is not just European players, and just to keep it simple so that I don't go absolutely insane with some of the comments and some of the things that people are going to say about this team, I'm only including players that did not go to college in the United States before they got into the NBA.
There goes Kyrie.
There are a good amount of international players that have gone from overseas to college to the US, but the problem is if I'm including those players, then there's going to be comments about, oh, why don't you have Karl Anthony Towns? Why don't you have Kyrie Irving? Why don't you have whoever? Because
my list is done.
You have connections internationally, but just to make it simple, these are players that came straight from international play into the NBA. So,
well, dang, give me a Rubio at point guard then, I guess. I don't know, I guess I would probably go with Giannis at point guard and Bogdanovic at small forward. I guess I don't know now.
Just for example, that excludes players like Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid because they did play in college before coming to the NBA. Again, simply just to make it a little bit more simple for me to make this list and make the criteria a little bit more clear. Starting off now with the first member of our 14-man roster, the starting point guard of this team is going to be Goran Dragic. Now, that might be a bit of a surprise to some people, but I was actually surprised to see that there weren't as many really good international point guards in the league, and that meant that I ended up going with Dragic. He was an all-star last year. I'm not saying anything bad about him. He was an all-star reserve last year as an injury alternate. I just wasn't really expecting such a lack of star power at the point guard spot for this international team, but it kind of works out well because he's a guy that's a good facilitator, can shoot, can play on and off the ball, and that's something that you're going to see with 90% of the perimeter players on this team. They can shoot, they can play on or off the ball, they can create, they can do whatever you really need them to do, and that made it pretty easy to put together this team. So the first guy,
Luka shooting guard.
Point guard is Goran Dragic.
Give me Luka as shooting guard.
Next up now is going to be a rookie, actually, and that is someone that I'm sure a lot of people knew was going to be on this team, and that is Luka Doncic. Depending on how highly you think of Doncic's game, you might think it's a bit of a stretch for him to be in this starting group once you see some of the other guys that are coming off the bench, but in the end, I felt like his ability to play on and off the ball, his ability to shoot, and just his ability to go anywhere I want him to in the lineup made him a very, very viable starting option. Not only that, but when you combine him with some of the other players that you're going to see in this starting 5, it is a giant group, and his size and versatility allows me to do a lot of different things in this mock team if I was coaching them. So Luka Doncic is going to be the starting 2.
Next up reminds me of, what's that one YouTuber? Right? He doesn't do YouTube anymore. Actually, I don't know if he does. Two Brothers Game. He kind of reminds me of him, kind of. Although I think he works for 2K now.
I actually didn't expect to be in the 3 spot. I expected him to be at the 4, but I forgot about a different guy before I made the list. Anyway, the 3 spot is going to be Giannis Antetokounmpo. Obviously, he was going to be on this team as an international player coming from Greece, and he is arguably the best player on this team and an MVP candidate for this season, along with another player on this list. And you guys obviously know how good Giannis is. The one thing that could be an issue on this kind of a team that's really an all-star team to a certain extent is his inability to shoot. He's going to be on the ball a lot, which is why there's a lot of guys in the starting unit that can play on or off, that can shoot, that can play around Giannis, that can play when he's not on the floor, because he's really the only perimeter player. I'm looking at the list right now. He's really the only perimeter player on this team that can't shoot, you know, a league average level from 3-point range.
He makes up for it by his dominance inside play.
So that's going to be a minor negative, but for a guy like Giannis, it's not going to be a huge deal. Next up now with the 4 spot is the guy that I kind of forgot about simply because he's injured for this season, but I'm kind of ignoring that factor in this. I just wanted to put together what I thought was the best team, and that is going to be Kristaps Porzingis. Now, like I said,
of course,
a gigantic starting group, and you might think, Well, why wouldn't you have him coming off the bench at the 5 spot? Because a lot of people believe, myself included, that Kristaps Porzingis is best fitted as a modern NBA 5. But when you see some of the other big guys that are on this
Jokic
team,
at center,
I didn't want to leave any of them off. So I decided to put Porzingis in the starting unit and stick with that very, very large starting unit, going 6'3" with Goran Dragic, 6'8" with Doncic, 6'11" with Giannis, 6'11" with Porzingis, or now 7'2", excuse me, for Porzingis. And then the next guy you will see is also another big man. So Porzingis can shoot. He's a good scorer. Defensively, he should be able to protect the rim fairly well. And his length allows him to stick with other 4s better than maybe you would expect. So I'm okay with him being at the 4 spot, and he's in the starting unit despite his injury currently. Next up now at the 5 spot is going to be Nikola Jokic. Obviously, you guys knew this one was coming. I kind of considered putting him on the bench for a more, defensive and rim rolling big man, because a lot of Jokic's success is tied to, obviously, his skill level, but also the fact that he is very much the center point of the Denver offense. And in this team, that might not be the case. He might not do as many things out of the high post and as many things on the ball on this team as he would for Denver. So I kind of considered putting in someone that would be a little bit better of a rim protector.
In the post.
Although Jokic has improved defensively this season, kind of considered putting in someone that could, take up more space in the lane, be a better rebounder. But instead, I decided to put him in there simply because I thought people would crush me for not having him in the starting unit as one of the leading MVP candidates this season. So Nikola Jokic is the starting 5. Moving on now to the bench, and these are kind of in order, but not really. I kind of grouped them from the first 5 to the second 5, and then the last 4 guys, but it really doesn't matter too much. And I'm going to go through these a little bit quicker than I did the starters, and then I'm going to give you some of the guys that didn't make the list at the end. So first up is going to be Dennis Schroeder, and I know that there are some other guys I could have picked, and again, we'll talk about them later, but for me, I just really like Schroeder's ability to run a second unit and be just surrounded with really good shooters and guys that can, play around him well and run the pick and roll well. I like the fact that he kind of changes the pace from some of these other more methodical international guards and provides more quickness, some defensive versatility as well. And he's probably the second worst perimeter jump shooter on the team, but again, he's going to have the ball in his hands a lot, so that's not going to be
a little bit. I thought he was a little bit.
Next up now, another wing is going to be Joe Ingles. I kind of honestly forgot about Joe Ingles when I was making this list, because when I was thinking international, as I'm sure a lot of you guys were, you were thinking more European, but Joe Ingles, obviously from Australia, and he's another guy that can defend, play make, shoot. He's going to be able to do a lot of things for this team, on or off the ball, it doesn't matter. So he's a really good addition for sure. Next up is another guy that I kind of forgot about. I made an initial list of people that I came up with off the top of my head, and then afterwards I went into 2K and looked at the actual rosters and realized that I missed out on a good amount of people, and Danilo Gallinari is one of them. He's playing very well for the Clippers this year, and I think his stats are better than a lot of people might actually think that they are, and that's the reason that he is going to be one of the key guys off the bench for this team. Another guy that can shoot, another guy that can play make, another guy that can play on and off the ball, which again is a recurring theme with most of these.
Bro, it sounds like a Crispy Flakes rebuild right now, because this dude appreciates spacing and 3-point shooting as much as I do.
National players, it just kind of comes with the game that they bring with them. And also another guy that provides some size, about 6'9", 6'10". So he's an exciting addition to the team. Moving on now to a guy that is quickly becoming one of my favorite players in the league, and that is Domantas Sabonis of the Indiana Pacers. But even having said that, you can tell how much depth this team has in terms of big guys, because I almost left him off, despite the fact that, like I said, he's quickly becoming one of my favorite players. But he provides some post scoring if that's what we need to kind of punish the other team if they're going small at the 4 or the 5 spot. Sabonis can come in and score in the post. He's got a little bit of range on his jump shot. Really good playmaker, feisty defender, guy that brings a lot of energy to the floor. And it's just someone that I really wanted to have.
A very big lineup,
despite the fact that we've got, I'm counting here, 6 big guys, 6 guys that are legitimate, 4 and 5 type players. So that might be a bit of a logjam, but I couldn't leave Sabonis off this team. Next up is the big guy that I considered putting in the starting unit before I realized how many people would absolutely kill me for leaving Nikola Jokic off the first team, and that is Rudy Gobert. He provides something a little bit different from the other bigs on this roster, at least the ones that we've talked about so far, in the fact that he is a defensive specialist. He's going to protect the rim extremely well. Might not fare so well against some small ball teams and some teams that really want to space the floor from all 5 positions, but if you run into a team that it,
that's a nice
wants
camera.
to play the traditional pick and roll, wants to have a guy in the paint all the time. Rudy Gobert is going to fare very well on the defensive end, in addition to providing some finishing and the ability to finish around the rim on the offensive end. So like I said, I considered putting him in the starting unit ahead of Jokic, but realized that was never really going to go well, so he's on the bench. Next up now is another big guy. Again, I almost ran out of spots for all these guys, and this is a player that might be an All-NBA player at the end of the season if he keeps up his production. He's having a arguably career year, and that is Marc Gasol. He provides a little bit more spacing from three-point range than someone like Rudy Gobert does, but still provides a lot defensively, can protect the rim, can rebound, and a really, really good passer, as are most, if not all of these players. So he's a nice addition off the bench, kind of as a change of pace guy that can be a little bit more versatile offensively and defensively than the more offensively focused Jokic and the more defensively focused Gobert. Next up now, ending the run on big men, is Bogdan Bogdanovic.
Yeah, there we go.
Of the Sacramento Kings. Now, as you'll see on the list of guys that did not make the team, you could have put the other Bogdanovic.
Did y'all see that game winner last night? Oh
the
my
Indiana
God.
Pacers on this list if you wanted to. I chose not to, but that was simply personal preference, as is most of this list. You guys can create your own list if you want, and you might disagree with me on some of these, and that's completely fine. But personally, I liked his youth a little bit more. I liked his ability to play make on ball a little bit more than the other Bogdanovic, and really that's all that it came down to. But another perimeter guy, once again, can shoot, can pass, can play on or off the ball, and another nice addition off the bench. And in a very similar category to that is our second to last player, and that is Evan Fournier of the Orlando Magic. Now, mostly he's on this team because I feel like he's going to provide some really good spacing. If there's a guy that's just not shooting the ball well,
what about LeBron James?
Evan Fournier can go in and be a really good scorer off the bench. On some nights, he might even be better than some of the guards and perimeter guys in that second group of five. And again, he's just another guy, play on or off the ball, can shoot. I'm going to keep saying it. Evan Fournier, second to last player on the list. And the last one is Clint Capella, another big man. And as I'm reading this list, I'm kind of regretting putting as many bigs on this as I did, simply because I feel like we're lacking a little bit of depth on the wing as a result. But I couldn't make a case for any of these guys not to be on there. Clint Capella, Gasol, Gobert, Sabonis, Porzingis, and Jokic. The only argument I could have seen would have been either there's too many bigs on the roster, or Porzingis is hurt. I don't know, maybe you could make the case that he shouldn't be on there, but to me, I had to have all six of those guys on there. Capella's another Rudy Gobert type player, can roll to the rim, can defend, and does a really good job of defending.
I would took Ricky Rubio just as a third stringer
on switches and ball screens. So Clint Capella is the last guy in the 14-man group. And really quickly, I'm going to give you a handful of guys that did not make this list, and you can obviously remind me of which guys I forgot about in the comment section below, as I'm sure you will. And then I'll just look at the roster as a whole and talk about how they all fit together. So notable names.
Yes, Dirk
did not make the list simply because he's not playing that well this year. He's much older. I almost put him in there just as kind of a legacy vote, but that really wouldn't have been fair to any of the other players.
Oh, it would have been fair. It would have been fair, sports logically.
Better than he is at
this
very late stage of his career. Also, Serge Ibaka did not make the list. Even though he's having a bit of a renaissance season with the Raptors, I felt like there were other big guys that I'd rather have on there. You can make a case otherwise if you'd like. Ricky Rubio did not make the list either, but he was very close, and you could put him you could put him in the starting unit over Dragic if you wanted to. You could put him in the second unit instead of Schroeder if you wanted to. But again, that was just personal preference. I wanted a bit more of a change of pace guy in Dennis Schroeder rather than Ricky Rubio. And then, like I said, the other Bogdanovic for the Indiana Pacers could have been in there as well. So looking at the team as a whole now, the thing that I really, really like is just the versatility that these guys provide. I mean, I could move Porzingis from the starting unit to the bench. Giannis could play the 4. I could put in any number of wings in the starting unit. I could put Ingles in there. I could put Gallinari in there. I could put Fournier in there. I could run 3-point guards at once, 2-point guards at once. Doncic can run the 1. Any of those things could happen. I could go super small with Giannis at the 5 or Porzingis at the 5. Playmakers, I'll be kind and say that the Ingles and just went straight to the NBA. Can do the international thing.
Okay, yeah, I didn't think it was a bad team. I mean, it threw me for the curveball at the very beginning when he said no guys that played in college and stuff like that. But yeah, did Siakam, did he go to college? I guess I don't know. I know he was drafted. I just don't know where from, because that's all I think. It's you know certain guys are drafted. You're just like, but where do they come from? Because a lot of guys go to low-key colleges and stuff like that too. But anyway, guys, it's very interesting to watch. Go subscribe to Sporting Logically. Link to his channel description below. But no, I really enjoy this. It's very interesting to see other people's opinions and stuff like that, and kind of compare and contrast. So yeah, thank you all so much for watching. Peace out, my friends.